With the visage of a hawk and the bearing of a leader, this retired United States Air Force major appears to be fierce, unyielding, and a stickler for following the rules. However, appearances can be deceiving. As it turns out, Dick Cornfoot is an old softy who rescues injured animals, raises lilies, and keeps photos taken nearly 50 years ago of his beautiful bride in his wallet. Born in Revere, Massachusetts, he is the son of New Englanders. The name is Scottish, he said, not Indian. I get more people asking me what tribe I'm from. His father, David Cornfoot, worked as an office manager for the Calco Chemical Company, but during the Great Depression, he was let go. After that, he was employed by the American Cyanamid Company in Boston. His mother, Ruth Cornfoot, was active in church and she loved to sew. She was an excellent seamstress. When I was a kid, I never had any store-bought clothing. She made all my clothes, Dick said. She even made an overcoat for me. As a reminder of her, I still have a shirt that she made for me. His mother had other talents too. Mom had a magic touch with animals, he related. People brought animals and birds that had been injured to our house, and Mom would nurse them back to health. Apparently, Dick inherited this trait too, as he brought home a Baltimore oriole that had fallen out of a tree. I found it on the sidewalk, and I kept it as a pet. It would fly around the house and land on our shoulders. We had it for 4 or 5 years, he smiled. Dick and his younger brother Doug grew up in a household that had strict rules. Our dad was a father and not a buddy, Dick recalled. And Mom never let us get away with anything. I knew that if I got in trouble in school, Mom would be on the front porch waiting for me when I got home. And that happened a lot, he admitted. It's a wonder that I'm still alive, he said. For example, he went on the day that I came home from having an appendectomy, I went outside and climbed trees. Once I ran in front of a car and I heard my heels hit the bumper. It gets worse. In high school, he and his friends would walk across a trestle that spanned a railroad. They would balance on a pipe above the tracks as the trains rushed beneath them. Sometimes they would go to another nearby bridge and stand on I-beams that ran next to the rails within inches of the locomotives as they would speed past. I always felt that somebody was watching over me, keeping me safe, or I would have been dead, he confided. The family took weekend trips to Cape Cod, where they would feast on seafood. Instead of buying cheeseburgers, we bought clams, he laughed. They would also vacation on a small island in Maine. We stayed in an isolated cabin on a rock ledge. It was wonderful, especially for a teenager. I would fish in a big, flat-bottomed wooden boat. I remember that the loons sounded like ghosts. After graduating from Quincy High School in 1948, he worked as a stockboy at the S.S. Kresge store for a year. I was a straight C student, he admitted, so I didn't think college was in my future. He managed to get accepted at the University of Massachusetts, where he was a backstroker on the swim team for 3 years, served as the team captain his senior year, and was also enrolled in the Reserve Officer Training Corps there. He earned a degree in horticulture, and in 1954, he was put on active duty as a personnel officer at the Air Force Base in Charleston, South Carolina. It was there that he met his future wife, the former Reba Harrell, and they were married in 1956. They had 2 children, Allan and Doris Lynn. His career took them around the world. They were first stationed in the Azores, about halfway between America and Europe. It was like living in the 17th century, he explained. These people were barefoot, driving ox carts across cobblestone streets. From there, they were transferred to McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey. After 4 years there, they went to Johnston Island in the Pacific Ocean for a year, next Duluth, Minnesota, which he told me later was his favorite. for 5 years, and then they moved to Okinawa, where they lived for 3 years. It was in Okinawa in 1968 that Dick and Reba attended a party at which Reba wore a kimono. And in his wallet, Dick still carries photos of this beautiful wife, resplendent in this authentic Japanese costume. His last assignment was 1 year in Thailand, and he retired in 1974. Soon after his military retirement, he began working for a fledgling college campus, which would later become Coastal Carolina University. I was hired to set up classes, hire instructors, sell books, register students, and anything else necessary to get the program started. Coastal only had 3 buildings when I started, he said, and it was fun. I enjoyed working there. I had a wonderful time. In 2005, at age 75, he retired a second time and began devoting himself to raising flowers, particularly lilies. Regarding his membership here at Shepherd of the Sea, he confessed, frankly, I had not run into any Lutherans before, but our next-door neighbors in Surfside attended Shepherd of the Sea, and our daughter went to church with their daughter. They persuaded us to join, and we did in 1980. Since then, Dick has served on Congregation Council twice, has assigned ushers for 10 years, and still serves as a lay reader and a counter and a greeter with Reba, and did that until very recently. After traveling hundreds of thousands of miles and leading thousands of civilians and military personnel, he reflected, the changes I have seen in the places I've been and the way that people live have been tremendous. Fortunately, Dick remains unchanged and steadfast in his tenderheartedness. His biggest role, however, was as a Christian husband and a father. He and Reba were married 62 years. There are some people that don't get to enjoy 62 years of life in this life, and they were married 62 years. I enjoyed hearing stories of their marriage together. And if you get a chance on your way out, or check out Lynn's Facebook page, and I think I shared it on the church Facebook page, this wonderful, cute video that they were a part of that she produced, an Emmy-winning producer, worker for our public television. They were the stars of it. It's playing in the narthex. It's called Love. And it's a husband fixing up his wife's dirty feet. That's what love does. It dives into the mess. It's not all hugs and kisses and happiness. He said, you know what Moxie is? And I said, yeah, it's like when you've got this joie de vivre, that person's got a lot of Moxie. He said, no, Moxie is a drink. You can buy this at Cracker Barrel. This came there last night. Wow. He had Moxie, and he talked about drinking this drink, and you couldn't find it anywhere. It's so hard to come by. So hard to come by Moxie. And that is prophetic, my friends, because it is, especially in terms of faith. To come across even a Christian who lives and dares live out their faith. You see, there's a lot of people who believe in life after death. But sometimes you're lucky enough and blessed enough to meet some people who will prove to you, because of their Christian faith, that there is life before death, too, through Jesus. And he was one of those people. He had Moxie.
Your loved one's honorable and faithful service.